Community, community, community. We all want it. We all need to build it. And yet, a lot of us don't have time to build it or to learn and to nurture those relationships. What if you could hire somebody, a community manager, to help you build your community? Well, today we're talking on Strategy Talks to somebody who is doing just that. She is a community builder and she is for hire. She's going to talk to us about all sorts of community building strategies. So stick around for Strategy Talks. I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. My name is Morin-van, and we're back with another episode of Strategy Talks Live. I was just watching this intro video, and it says, with experts from all around the world. Well, we've had experts from Curacao and Suriname and the Netherlands and all different countries. And today we have somebody joining us from France. So I am just so excited to be here. If you're watching us live on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, let us know where you're watching from. And if you are watching this Strategy Talks episode on the replay, put hashtag replay in the comments if you have a question, because myself and my guest would love to answer your questions. As always, if you're here at Strategy Talks podcast listening to us, be sure that we welcome you here, and we are very excited that you're taking time out of your busy day to listen to Strategy Talk. So without much further ado, I am ready to talk about community and community building strategies with my friend Tama. How are you, Tama?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Doreen. How are you today?
Good. I am so excited you're here. And, this is a funny story, guys. So I started doing these LinkedIn videos, these short videos, and all of a sudden I've got Tama just commenting and liking and engaging. And I was like, I got to get to know her. So found out a little bit more about her, find out she is a American living in France. And so I asked her to be on my show. And I just think this is how relationships are built online, right? While people engage. And I love that Tama you were showing me how community was being built without me realizing that you're a community builder, because you were walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So I love that as a great example of what we're going to talk about today is when you want to get noticed, when you want to make connections, that you actually have take time out of your day to spend time with people. And that is exactly what you did. So Tama, I did a lot of talking. Let's talk about what you're working on right now. You've been a teacher for a long time. You're doing some digital marketing, community building stuff. And in the green room, you were talking about this program by Meta. You told me you were going to get certified as a community manager by Meta. Can you tell me a little bit about that program and why you are taking the steps to get certified?
Sure. Thanks, Doreen, first for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And that's very true about making different connections and just getting to learn about people. So I appreciate this opportunity. Yes, I am studying to take the Meta exam. So I'm in a Meta private group. And there's a woman there, Linda Porter, who is going to be giving a 4-week, very quick course on taking the Meta exam, because this will be the last one that'll be offered for the year. And if it's your first time, they do offer a voucher. So I'm hoping I get it, because it would save $99, which would be very nice. I do have to pass it on the first try. If I fail, I have to pay for it myself. And I want to do it because I think it would open up a lot more opportunities for me. I think people would really see my value, and just learning about having a community behind me if I also have questions, um, as a manager of somebody's group. So I think it could be very helpful.
Yeah, so I actually know somebody who was one of the first people to take that exam and to get certified about 3 or 4
Oh,
years ago, and I've certainly recommended it to several people. I've been in the study group. I never did take the exam, so I applaud you for following through and actually doing that. But I love that. I am also in a Meta Facebook group of community managers, and the support that you receive as a community manager is really important. And that's something that I kind of want to talk to you about as well. And this is a completely side conversation, but it's important. In light of what's happening in the US and the election and kind of we had a tough week last week, a lot of us. And so, I've seen some posts on social media, people saying, well, social media managers can't turn off their social media. We still have to be there, even though we don't want to. For community managers, it's almost worse, right? It's that you're stuck, you're caught in this community. And not only do you have to be present, but you also, in a way, have to, I don't like the word policing, but in a way, you have to be guiding people, and I've done community management for quite a few years myself. And that's one of the things that was really hard. And I love that you come from a teaching background, because I think as a teacher, you've already led many communities, correct?
right, exactly.
Every time you have a classroom, you have a community. And
Exactly,
and
exactly.
so those lessons and the wisdom that you have in teaching, because a lot of community management is teaching people how to behave, what is acceptable, right? You're smiling because I know
Yeah,
this is how it is. You're teaching people how to behave in your community, and you've set those boundaries. Now, when you go in, Tama, as a VA, how do you get that authority? Because you're working with mainly women over 50. You help in their community as a community manager. How do you set yourself in that group as the authority? And I would love to know that, because I think that's something that, people can struggle with for sure.
sure. Thank you for that question. I think first the community would have rules, that have to be set up. So when somebody wants to join the community, they have to answer those specific questions. Um, and so they kind of know, okay, if we're not going to have this kind of language and this kind of conversation, then maybe you can't belong. And you can, you know not decide to, you can exclude somebody if they don't answer certain questions. Sometimes it's even just one question they missed. I know one time I tried to join a community and I skipped the question and they said no.
Yeah.
So I had to go back. So I think you have to establish those rules first, and then just being there in the community, and um, being showing people, this is what the community is, this is our mission, these are the kind of things that we have, the kind of people that we want in our group, and just sort of encourage that the positiveness. I know there always can be those negatives that are going to come up, but we have to, we don't want to turn off those voices, but we have to be very strategic in how we kind of move around in those communities.
Yeah, so I have a follow-up question. So when you go into a community, and I think that there's quite a few people who are curious about that, what works right now? And I know you have a Facebook community that you're in charge of. What works better right now? Is it you going in as Tama and talking, hey, I'm the community manager? Is it you going in as a page? Is you going in under the name of the other expert and, in their profile, which is kind of frowned upon? How do you establish yourself as that community manager in that community? What is working right now? I know Facebook groups specifically have gone through a huge kind of overhaul in the last few years. In a way, not an overhaul, it's kind of been stagnant. I think about 2 years ago, there was a big firing at Meta. And I do believe that a lot of the Facebook group people, there just hasn't been really much progress in Facebook groups. There hasn't been many changes, new features. And so I believe that's a direct result of what happened there. So I do know that algorithms change. I have experience like talking into the void and not getting anybody in the community to hear me. So when we're talking about community engagement strategies, number one is, how do you present yourself as a community manager to be heard?
Yeah, I think you have to show up all the time, whether you're, posting content on behalf of your client. You've got to be in there connecting people to other people, just making it a reason for them to return. There's so many different ways you can make that engagement happen, but I think you have to be in the forefront. And also the person whose community it is, the person who wanted the group, really needs to be a part of it too. And I think you
I
work
love that.
together.
Can you repeat that one? Can you say that again? Because this is something that's really tough.
Yeah, that the person who wanted the group really needs to be as much of a part of it, engaging with people as the community manager.
Okay, this is really important. I have tried to jumpstart several communities for clients who don't really like to be on social media. And when their voice isn't in the group, it's really, really hard to grow that community, because
Absolutely.
initially a community is started because they follow either a brand or a person that they connect with. They have that personal connection, they come in. And then once they're in, you have these engagement strategies to keep them there. And then, they're going to start liking the other people in the community manager. But initially it's that voice. So if that voice is missing, people come in and then they leave.
Exactly.
So you said you have to be in there all the time. Tama, give us like an example. Does that mean every hour on the hour, 5 minutes? Is that half an hour in the morning, half hour at night? Is that 8 hours straight? Like, what is your
No.
strategy? Because we want to
Yeah.
know, like, what is working? This is the kind of stuff that I think a lot of us are curious about. And even social media managers who want to dip their toes in the water of community management, we don't know how to price this. We don't know what's needed. So you have this expertise right now. What do you do?
Well, I think first, as a manager, you create some kind of a calendar, so you can schedule the content. Now, just like if you're on LinkedIn, if you're scheduling content, you have to be available to answer comments. And I think, you do need to be in there, whether if it's a time zone difference, you've got to, within 24 hours, I believe you really need to make a comment. And I try to do it maybe 4 to 5 hours. I mean, every couple days, like every other day. So maybe 2 hours a day, just to be in there, because people aren't commenting. But if it's stagnant, I want to go in there and kind of see if I can move the needle a little bit.
Okay.
too.
Yeah. Do you use, and this is a loaded question, do you use the @everyone tag? Have you used it? How do you use that strategically in Facebook?
I've used it in the past. Sometimes I just tag a specific person. Sometimes it's just a general post that's going to everybody. Maybe it's something we want them to look in the guides, or it's just a general content, followed by some kind of a question. And if somebody responds, then it might be to a specific person. The @everyone, if it's like if it's a huge group, I don't know if I don't think that's such a good idea, because not everybody wants that piece of content.
Yeah. Yeah. I've left groups because they were tagging @everyone every day.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to that, don't do that unless you are purposely reducing the size of your group.
Yeah.
So community engagement strategies also means that we want more people in our community, Tama. What kind of things are you currently using, or have you used that were successful to grow your group, the group that you're in charge of? I would love to know, what have you seen that works? Where are people coming from?
Um, a lot of times I would go into the other social media and see if I could pull from see what's happening in those groups. I would, the person whose group it is, we work together to find ways to get more people to come in, especially because of, whatever their group is about, they probably have connections. And, I don't want to go into another group and like steal people or anything like that. But, it's helpful if the person we work tangent to get, other people to come in, just making it really engaging once people see it also, I think makes a difference. Because if it's, you have a post and it's been a week ago and you're in this group, is nothing there for me. I mean, I've been in groups where I'm in there, but there's nothing that's keeping me except for the welcome post, which is, I think, really important, but after that needs to go on as well.
Right. Yeah. You need to have something more than that. Have you had any luck asking your members to invite their friends and their connections to bring people in?
Yes, that's absolutely great question. I think that's really important because those people, always have somebody who might be interested as well. And that's a great way to build the community because they have like a voice already of what the community is like.
Right. So how do you and again, I think this is good for a lot of social media managers. We're asked to provide data, and in a community, especially if we talking about Facebook community, there is data available. And if you didn't know that, if you're not an admin in a group, there is quite a good analytics dashboard for from Meta that provides that information. So how do you define success of either growth or engagement, or what KPIs are you looking for? And how do you define success? And how do you work with a client and set those expectations for them?
I think very good question. I think you have to look at, how many people are engaged in the comment. If it's a like, and then there's a comment, especially if one is successful, we can repurpose it. I think we look at the times too that people are engaging, and of course, when they're all over the world, sometimes that's a little hard to really figure out. I think having people also look at what the trends are of the topics that are interested to the members is very, very helpful. And if you have any interest in the topic, well then we need to kind of move to someplace else and figure out another way to engage them.
Okay. You said something about international, and you earlier you specified like time zone and stuff. So for those who are interested in leading a community or starting a community with an international flair, right? People from all over the world on a specific topic. Do you think there comes a point that one community manager isn't going to be enough? Do you feel like, you're in Europe and say people wake up later or they're up in the middle of the night? Do you feel like you're missing comments, or do you feel like it needs to be moderated at all times? Or is there a certain level that you get to, or that you're expecting to get to, when it's time to have more than one moderator? Like you can have one community manager, but like several moderators. And maybe you already have moderators. I actually forgot to ask that question. So, community manager is really like the overseer. When I did community management, I had up to 12 moderators helping me out for a large community. Where is that point, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think especially if you have a large international audience, I haven't experienced that yet, but I think it would definitely be a great suggestion to have a moderator maybe in each different time zone, especially if you're at 3,000-4,000 people in a group. You can't answer questions if it's the middle of the night, of course, and I mean, there's ways around, but I think it would make sense to have another person that could help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Tama, you're a little bit early in this journey, but I think it's fair to say you've probably seen some discord in your group, that somebody was upset or had a bad day or was misunderstood or felt attacked. and I know you're going to take the Meta Community Manager course where they address some of those things. So
Mhm.
for somebody listening that might be happening to their group right now, there's a person in there. Do you have any strategies on either how to calm people down or to take the conversation somewhere else? Or what do you do, or what do you expect to do when that happens? Because it's not if, it's when. That's going to happen to every community manager at some point. You're going to encounter somebody who's having a really bad day. How do you move forward to that? And I'm assuming as a teacher, you already have a lot of answers to that. So let's hear it. How can we in a way diffuse that what's happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, first of all, you have to, you do have to empathize because you don't really know the backstory of why they did that. And I think, just having a private conversation with them, you could take it off and have a private about, what's happening. Why did you answer this way? Because we really don't want to ban them from the group, and it brings down all the analytics and the algorithm. It's not in the favor of the group if you do that. So I think, you really have to find ways to talk to the person to see, why they did that first, and remind them of the group rules. This is not what this group is for, and hopefully that does lead in a more positive way. And if it doesn't, well, you know then we have to move to another solution.
Yeah, yeah, it's just amazing. One of the things that I've heard say, and I would love to hear your response. If somebody says to you, my Second Amendment right, I think, no, not Second Amendment, that's a gun. What's the right that you have to say, being able to, wasn't American born, so I'm going to say this out loud now. What is that amendment that right people have, like, to say what they want? What is their
Oh, the free speech.
free speech, right? So they go into this group and they go, on a Facebook group, and I want to be able to say what I want. You can't ban me. You can't block me. I'm going to sue you. I mean, I have seen that scenario over and over brought to community managers group. What do I do when somebody threatens me like this? What would
Yeah.
your answer be?
Um, well, I would probably refer, if it got to that point, I would probably have to go to Meta itself, because they have people that are specifically trained for that, and they would look into the situation. Because at some point, I probably wouldn't want to engage with that person
That's a
specifically.
great answer. And that's what I wanted to hear, because there are situations that you can't handle. The one thing to remember is, guys, Meta is a privately owned company. So if you're on there creating a group, that group does not need to uphold to free speech. Everybody can start a group. You can't threaten to harm people, of course, but you can say the things you want to say. But that also means you can have the group rules that you want to have. Specifically, I see people that have rules around or illnesses. It's very helpful, these Facebook groups. And I just want you to know, guys, if you feel, if you have something happening in your life and you feel alone, Facebook groups has really, really, really helped me find my tribe of people, of like-minded people. When I was a young mom and there was something going on as an international, as a Dutch woman living in the US, I'm belonging to all these different groups because I belong to all these different people. But especially in the medical field, right? If you have a family member who has an illness, there's some amazing groups that have the best resources. However, there's also people in those groups who really want to push their agenda. And that's when it's really important that when there's, like, we're not talking about a specific cure, like, we're talking about support, but you can't say this medicine, and then it's like my group, my rules. So I just want to kind of reiterate that. And I love that you said go to Meta, because that is what you do. You find out from them what can, and if anybody ever threatens to sue you because of something that's being said in a Facebook group, just remind them, if you're the group owner, that you can just take them out of the group. You can block them from the group, and then they can't find the group. So that's definitely something. So community engagement strategies, if we go back to getting people to talk, Tama, do you do questions? Do you do a video? Have you found polls? What is it that gets people to talk right now in the communities that you are the community manager for?
It can be a variety of different things, and I think it's important that you kind of mix up the content also. So if one thing doesn't work, you have something else. People love polls, and sometimes it's really good also to just not even have a question that's related to the group. It could be something totally random, like, show us your pet or what's your favorite ice cream, because that gets people engaged in different ways. And sometimes those quiet voices come out for kind of that kind of content.
How do you sell that kind of content to your client as a community manager?
Yeah, I think you have to just let your client know that it's important to have a variety of content to reach different audiences. Not everyone's gonna, even though they're in that group, maybe that specific content isn't going to resonate, but we have to bring them out a different way. And once they come out, maybe come out because they've liked that question, then we kind of can see, oh, well, they like this kind of content, or they like these polls, let's do more of these, or this specific question, we can maybe tailor it a little bit more to what they, to get some of those shyer um, clients.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, how often do you post in the group currently? And what do you recommend?
Well, it sort of depends on what the client wants. This client, just she has something 4 days out of the 7, so it's on a content calendar, and it's a variety of different things. And you can set it up within the Meta scheduler, so it's a little bit easier. And be very specific with the times, and so that is helpful. And then once it comes out and people respond, then you can maybe tag somebody, hey, what do you think about this? That way that can bring out more of a conversation.
Yeah. So I have like one or two more questions, Tama. As a community manager, how important is it for you to build community with the members, not just to lead the community, but to build relationship with the members?
Great question. I think it's really important, because if I don't have a relationship, then they're not going to trust me. So I think, learning about what the members like. Usually I've set up a spreadsheet that when they first come in, they answer a lot of questions. So that helps me kind of know some of the little more personal things. Now, this is a smaller group, so it's a little bit easier, but I think that really helps build a little bit of a rapport. Even where somebody's from is a great, question to ask somebody and have that open conversation.
That's awesome. Well, Tema, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. I love that we now have somebody who came on from France. Like I said, when we started this, I have had guests from, this really is a season that I've guests from all over the world come and join me for this podcast. You're in the south of France. You are available for hire. Where can people meet you? Where are you yourself most active on social? And do you have a website?
I don't have a website, but I am active on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay.
Mostly I'm hanging out on LinkedIn at the
Okay.
moment.
All right. So if they want to connect with
Yeah,
you, I'll make sure to put the link
absolutely.
to Tama's LinkedIn. Actually, you're tagged on LinkedIn as a guest, so it's easy to find you, but I'll make sure to tag you again. So if you want to connect with Tama, if you're interested in getting some support for your community, especially if you're a woman over 50, you have a community, you have a thriving business, and you want to build those relationships, and you just need a partner, Tama could be the perfect answer for you. Good luck on your certification. I'm very excited for you. I've
Thank you.
received several certifications over the last few years, and they have made a difference, not just even having that little badge on my LinkedIn, but learning the stuff. So I'm excited for you to go and learn more about Meta and their community management and how they, best practices and stuff. I know I highly admire the people that I know that have that certification. So kudos to you. Always a teacher, always learning, I think. And thank you for being with me here today. I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. And Tama, I will see you on LinkedIn. Bye,
Okay,
everybody.
thanks so much, Doreen. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you very much.